I'm like, why are you waving at me? I don't know nothing.
All right.
Okay, well, welcome everybody to the June 13th meeting of the Commission on Aging. Well, I'd like to call the meeting to order. And Jill sent out our draft minutes for our May meeting for your approval. Do I hear any additions or corrections to the minutes? If not, do I hear a motion for approval?
Motion.
Second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. No public appearances for non-agenda items. So we will proceed to the transportation discussion.
Okay. All right, we're going to keep this always at the top of the list until we figure out what we're going to do. You can have one of those. There you go. I'll think once. There you go, Jess. Okay, so most recently, oh here, look at it. Here's your real sign. So last time we talked about transportation, we didn't really decide anything. I mean, it's kind of listening to the mayor, listening to the city, what's going on, what's the initiative. And I think we can start at ground zero again. And I say that because I've been at ground zero and I've been up here and I've been down and I've been everywhere. But it came to my attention this week that there is the grant opportunity that's available through the government. It's called the 5310. Came about again to purchase a bus. And it's 80% funds the cost of the vehicle, and then we would find 20% funding somewhere. At the same time, you can apply for operating expenses, which cover 50%. So, you know, we were really close to applying for this grant several years ago when I was working with the city's transportation engineer, because we were looking globally at the entire city. Like, what would Fitchburg's own shuttle look like, and how would that serve the community? But, you know, we're here today and we're not any further than we were with that. And so there's, you know, been some thought about maybe we revisit the idea of purchasing our own vehicle. So it's not like I can just do that without approval of the city. I mean, that if you apply for a grant, there's funding, you have to, you know, get it approved. I did reach out to the mayor because there is in our budget, $80,000, not my budget, I think it's in Public Works, $80,000. It was slotted for 2025. This is in the CIP, the Capital Improvement Plan. The new plan came out recently and it got moved to 2026, just recently. So I reached out to the mayor to say, first, what were your plans for that $80,000? You know, where did that amount come from? Because I'm not really sure. You know, it doesn't pay for a bus.
Yeah.
Would it pay for operating? You know, what are we supposed to use that money for? So I'm waiting to hear back from her. But I wanted to get you guys' input on this. And again, this isn't my first rodeo looking at purchasing a bus. And I have wavered from 30 years ago, yep, we're gonna get a bus. When the old director was there, we were gonna get a bus. I think we raised $7,000, $8,000, $10,000, $14,000. And then after more and more research and looking at how we would operate it, it switched. And we decided to use that funding to subcontract. We also got CDBG grant funds, and we just sort of hired our own driver through the Friends. And we did that for several years. And it worked okay.
But not with our own bus.
Correct. We always subcontracted. It just felt like owning our own bus was a little much. But
taking care of upkeeping.
most recently, you know, Sun Prairie Colonial Club Senior Center owns 2 buses that they purchased through 5310 money. But they also have 3 drivers. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Oh.
I'm sure people understand, but I don't. So it's Colonial, whatever,
Oh, Colonial
Sun Prairie?
Club.
Or,
And they're their own nonprofit, so they're not part of the city.
But they do similar work that we do?
Exact same
Okay.
work, yep, and they get Dane County funding and everything,
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
So, and then Newbridge Madison just used this money to buy one bus, and then I think they fundraised for another. So now they currently have 2 buses that they purchased using this grant. So the likelihood of us getting a bus is pretty high. But always the underlying concern and question is who's gonna drive it? And that would then be some city funding. But if we have the
It'd be a position.
80,000,
It'd be a position.
it would be a position.
But it's not a full-time, is it?
Well, these are all
Oh, that's
the
what we have to
things that we
decide.
would have to determine. If we had a bus down there, we obviously wanna use it as much as we could, you know? So that would then drive the hours. And I think, you know, Janice knows, I've never been a strong proponent of owning a bus because I'm spending, you know, a lot of time just trying to use the supplemental money we have in organizing people in rides, like tomorrow for Friday Fun Day. Are you gonna stay? Do you need a ride? Do you need a pickup? Do you only need a ride home? So it does take a lot of staff time. And that's a road I really don't want to go down. I would want a designated staff to look at what we have. Maybe they're making calls, they schedule everybody, they know where everybody is. You know, they just pop in the morning and they say, you know, okay, all these people want to go. But the nice thing about having our own bus, which you can't have oftentimes with a contracted provider, is last minute changes, which is what we live on. I mean, we've got 12 coming on the bus and then, you know, they go to pick them up and 4 showed up. Or somebody showed up and then we called and nope, it's too late, you can't put them on. You know, so we end up driving somebody home. You just, when you have your contracted provider, you don't have a lot of flexibility. But the world we live in with older adults requires a ton of flexibility. So if we had our own bus and we had our own driver, well, it doesn't matter if Mary called in, or it doesn't matter if Helen's daughter dropped her off, because we can take her home. I don't need to know that in advance, because we have this allocated person that's available to run people around or do things.
So what else would the bus be used for beyond senior center activities?
If we purchased it and we figured out how to fund it,
It's
nothing.
just seniors.
Even if the driver was funded from
Therein
outside?
lies, yeah, even if, you know.
Even if the position was funded outside of this world here,
Mhm. You mean through the city?
through the city,
Right, and I can't,
it would still be exclusive to senior center.
that's what we would request.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
Go ahead.
no, all of you all go.
Yes.
Because but it also allows opportunity to do a lot more than what we are doing currently
Oh,
for
yeah.
seniors.
Right,
Yeah, and different activities and different, trips.
And they're locked in on
Yeah.
times, they have to go because the bus
Yeah.
has to leave at that point.
right.
Or they can't come to the center until this time because the bus can't pick them up to this time. And there's people who may come earlier, for sure stay later on nail day. But
Right,
come
right.
later because the bus is driving our programming, not
But
Yeah,
us
we
driving the
can.
bus
there's
programming.
I just wonder if a light goes on, once you get this bus, we have a bus.
Oh, I know.
I want some of this bus, or I want to use some of this transportation mode for something else.
Mhm.
You're convinced that wouldn't happen?
I'm pretty convinced that
I
wouldn't
was gonna say,
happen.
that would be a strong stipulation in terms of
Right.
going forward.
If a situation did come up where the city would want to use the senior center bus, we could charge them rent.
Not if they're paying for the driver. You know, therein lies the connection and the support, you know,
It's
we're-
basically the grant is for enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities.
Right, so that's a good point, because that's what this grant is for, it's for
Right.
senior transportation. So possibly, not that that's not gonna happen, but I don't think, I can't envision the city saying, hey, we need to use the bus for,
That's right.
I don't know, and these are all discussions we would have to have. But the sustainability of, so I talked to Ben, and I've worked with Ben over the years because we were so close to, Ben Lyman is the transportation planner. So the grant he is the one that works with organizations applying for the grants. And because I've been so close to getting grants before, Ben and I, I know Ben. So I said, well, what about this operating expenses? So once you get the bus, and then there's another grant for operating at 50%, could you get that year after year after year? And he said, I wouldn't bank on it. I know some places have for the last several years, but they're not gonna promise that 50% share is always gonna be available.
So don't budget for it.
They never promise, yeah.
Right.
You're better off, oops, it's a surprise, that's great, as opposed to counting on it.
Yeah, so,
I wanted to ask you something, Paul, now it's gone. When you had started, you asked her a question.
I was
about the
talking
city.
about other uses.
City using the bus?
Oh, so it does say individuals, I mean, it would be it's probably a small, but it does say individuals with disabilities.
Correct.
Meaning, maybe there's somebody who's not a senior, but has a disability who would
And
have
those
access.
are the same rules with our transportation bus
Yeah.
now. Like if we had an adult, so technically we serve 60 and over when it's county funded, the bus. But if somebody has a disability and wants to go shopping, they can use this transportation. Now, if somebody has a disability, wants to come for lunch, they can come, but because they're not 60, they would have to pay full price. So you don't
Right.
see a lot of that. But in the past, we have had folks that are under 60 be eligible to use the Dane County Nutrition Bus for shopping, when they go shopping, because it's part of this money.
Right.
It's part of this program.
So is this the type of bus that pulls up every day for lunch here that?
Yes, it would be
same
similar to that. Yep,
Same kind of bus?
yep, we would
Is it
need
a new bus or a used bus?
we get a new bus.
Brand new bus?
Yep, a brand new bus.
How would
I like the
that-
way you said it, brand new bus?
Yeah,
How would that fit in with our current transportation? Would be in addition to our?
correct. So
In
we
addition
keep,
to our-
because, it's interesting, the county continues to send 2 buses. I think Monday, we had close to 20 riding the bus, coming for lunch. And it just, it's just, I think I would keep that nutrition transportation. If I gave it up, which is what Sun Prairie does, the county would kick back the funding. So if I'm not using the county transportation for nutrition, I could have the option of saying, you know what, we've got our own system here, we're good, we'd rather have the funding, which would maybe be in the amount of around 20,000. This is something I looked into several years ago, because that's what Sun Prairie does. They do all their own nutrition runs, they just use their buses, I think they have two or three now, but at least 2, and then they schedule everything, nutrition, shopping, everything.
But the other side of that is, if we keep the Dane County nutrition bus, those hours, lunch hours,
Are
would be the
covered.
time, well, and that could be the time that our driver is organizing calls and scheduling people and all that kind of stuff.
Right,
So this isn't the new bus would add to what you already have now.
correct. Which is primarily nutrition.
You could, that's an option. That's an option.
Would you be able to utilize it? Would
Yes,
there
it's-
be enough capacity for a new bus if you,
Enough use?
enough use?
Well, and therein lies the question. It's kind of build it and they will come, or not. Like, we would definitely, and that's the thing, do you have a bus where you have, say, 2 people that stay late for nail care, and then we use that bus to take them home? Is that cost effective? I don't know, right? So
But do
that's
you-
another,
But you give more people options, I guess was my thought.
Right.
It may only be 3 people on the bus, but right now, between 9 and 10, there's nobody, because
There's
we
nobody.
don't have any transportation to get
Right.
here.
right,
and the
not
whole-
until 10:30.
I thought the whole purpose of the center is to have a place, roughly from 9 to 4, have a place for seniors to just hang out.
Right.
There's people who come read a book in the library. Outside of scheduled activities, that space is being used. It may just, I know it all comes down to money, but
It does, and then like you said, if we have a bus sitting out there and we're only transporting 1 or 2 people at a time,
Right.
is
Well,
that cost efficient?
You're also gonna possibly change your programming as well.
Yeah,
Correct,
yeah,
right.
Because
it
you
would
have
increase,
a
yeah.
bigger audience.
Oh, yeah.
Another question I have is, what is Sun Prairie's geographical spread?
Huge.
Is it as big as ours?
Yes, because they not only serve Sun Prairie, well, at least with their Dane County contract, they do all those towns around them,
Oh,
like town of Burke. They do some of Cambridge. Now, that doesn't mean, they do the meal program, so they deliver meals all the way in all these
That's far
towns. Yeah, but that, I don't know about like, oh, if somebody wants to go shopping, I think so though, because that's the county contract that they have to serve these areas, and these towns are probably contributing towards that budget, which is what happens.
But with our own bus, that gives us the opportunity to serve more people than who's currently coming to the center,
Right,
to go farther west, you know.
right.
Those are a lot of individuals that don't come here, don't even know about it, and et cetera,
Right.
so.
So there's also, you know, again, I didn't have a chance to look at my emails. If we have this 80,000, so, you know, if it's enough money, so I look at, you know, I use Transit Solutions a lot. So Transit Solutions is our nutrition provider through our Dane County contract. We have the 7,200 this year in the budget that the mayor gave us. So I'm also reaching out to Transit as well, because it's really hard to find a transportation provider to meet your needs. So like tomorrow, they're gonna do Friday Fun Day. They can't really pick up at 2, but they can pick up at 3, because 2 is when they have a lot of other contracts. But I wonder if we had enough money to pay them to really allocate more hours to us outside of, you know, to say, all right, it's worth us to, I don't want to say add another bus, but maybe hire a part-time driver, because the city of Fitchburg has $80,000. We're going to contract with them, and we figure out what it's going to cover. So, for example, I think that we're going to start to take people to the farmers market on Thursdays from 3 to 5 here in Fitchburg, because Dane County gives out farmers market vouchers for those that are income eligible, but a lot of those folks can't get there. So I'm going to contract with Transit, which is a perfect time because it's 3 to 5, and they don't have anything else
After
going.
school hours and all the other.
Exactly, because they have so many other contracts, which is what we find with a lot of other providers. So, again, it's a lot of details. And, go ahead.
Well, this has been around for a while, as you've indicated, and that $80,000 has been there and back
Well,
and
that's
forth, and I've heard that.
that's kind of new. They've never, this is the first, yeah, that's very new. And that came about when we were really close to purchasing our own bus several years ago.
Well,
when I
that's
was
what
working-
I'm
yeah,
referring to.
Yeah, so then it kind of grew, but then there was a shift. But again, that was for the whole city. That wasn't just for the senior center. So that's what I need to clarify, because at this point in time, I think I'm the only one technically really requesting transportation, not that other departments, you know, the library, the rec department, couldn't use it for their programs, or wanted, I should say. But I think I'm the only one being a strong advocate. So is that money then gonna be allocated just for senior center use? And so that's what I need to figure out. And then it got moved to 2026. And I think it got moved because we don't have our ducks in a row. Not just me, anybody. You know, what are we gonna subcontract? You know, because we could subcontract, and that's what we did 25 years ago with the CDBG grant funding, where we just subcontract, and we had a bus available from 9 to 3, like every day, but it was costing a mint, and the ridership wasn't justifying the expense. So
what do you need from us today?
I just want your opinions. I want you guys to say, you know what, I think we'll fight the fight, get a bus, and we're gonna figure this out. Or this is not gonna work, this is a bad idea. And again, you guys could all be behind me, and I go to apply for the grant, and the city says, no, we're not ready for
That's
this.
always a possibility.
Right.
I'm glad he asked, I was getting ready to ask the question, so
Right.
what are we looking at? Do we go, you know, the route of trying to get our own bus, or are we just gonna go with what the city? I think that's the decision that we have to make as a group. We've talked about this, you know, a couple of months ago, we talked about that and we never came to, you know, a situation or resolution. So I think it's those two options. What do we believe? do we want to try and go for our own bus? Personally, I like the bus situation. I think it's wonderful that the city's doing, transportation overall. We've spent a lot of time discussing that, and we had the mayor come in, and we had, Gabrielle and Bill come in and talk about it. But we're at a point where we need to decide what side of the fence are we on? What do we want to do?
Right, and I think that's what I'm looking for input from you guys, because I do feel like I've driven it for a long time, and I change my mind all the time. And some of it has been because I don't know if owning our own bus and trying to get a driver, if we'd be successful. Then I expanded it and said, all right, city, maybe, there's other departments, there's other people that could use this transportation. Why can't we have our own inner city shuttle, which is what Oregon is getting, the city of Oregon. So again, but I go back and forth, but I want your input. If you all sit here and say, let's get a bus, and, then I will go to the city, and part of me wants to, but is my comfort level super high? No, because I can't facilitate all the calls,
Well, I think we'd have to figure out some other options for facilitating the cause. I would hate to see that
Right.
stop us from, even
Right, but
pursuing.
so as we work through this, I need you to help me figure it
Yeah.
out. What does that look like?
Yeah.
Then is that another employee that we're putting in the budget? You know what I mean?
Maybe we need a statement of objectives as to what we want to accomplish with the bus, and maybe just kind of a vision statement, if you will, of what that would look like, what services and what level of support would come from you versus you would have to find additional funding for.
Well, I think even a pros and a cons,
Yeah,
that at least,
that's true.
so even,
It's a good start.
what's a pro of having our own bus?
Flexibility.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe we start with the pros and the cons, because
I think that would help, because if I'm selling this at a higher level, I gotta have you guys behind me selling it too,
Yeah.
And control.
Flexibility.
Making our own routes. And increasing schedule, and increase,
Expanding programming.
thank you.
Expanding programs is gonna be critical, because why have that bus, that would also impact outreach to the city, to reaching out across the city to get people here, and,
I think, sorry.
go ahead.
I think if we had FTE, a 1.0 FTE for that position, I think part of that FTE can be used at downtime to whatever, to do the scheduling too. I think
That
that's
would
gonna
be
be
part-
important, so it doesn't fall on anybody else's, shoulders that's already there.
That would be part
You
of
guys
that
have to
person's
think.
job.
Because so you talk about expanding, and I don't wanna sound like I'm a naysayer, I'm a realist. When you say expanding programs, it's Dave and I. I'm making flyers still, I'm scheduling the rides for, Susie's working with transit, but, more programs mean going.
I think you could phrase that in not expanding programs, but expanding service to underserved people or people whose needs are not currently being met. I think more than adding a lot of programs, you'd be adding people. You'd
To the
bring more
programs.
People
Yeah.
here.
But we might need more programs to
Yeah.
attract a
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
sort of
I
people.
agree.
Yeah,
I agree with Barbara, though, that the way you say that makes a difference, because if you say expand programs, then that locks you in, you have to expand programs. But if you say it the way Barbara did, you're expanding services for
Underserved.
underserved
More
people.
service opportunities.
Yeah, then it doesn't seem as
I'm better with more
specific to
service
me.
opportunities.
What's that?
I'm better with more service opportunities, because that means you're already increasing something. You're increasing programming, you're increasing availability of the bus to get people, you're increasing more service opportunities I like.
Yes, service
Jill, I got
period,
a
yeah.
question for you.
yeah,
The senior center has lots of programs and fun things and social things and et cetera, but the other part is all the social workers. And do they have, if a person has needs out in the community, is there some special way that they get to the social workers? other than transit, or how do they get to,
Oh, they,
would this bus provide a greater opportunity to meet the needs of people who need social workers?
yeah, I mean, most of the time, if they don't have transportation, social workers they go to
They
them.
go to them.
They go to
Correct,
them,
yeah.
right, but little things like foot care, you know?
Yeah.
If somebody
Which is big.
needs foot care, they can only use the transportation bus, so we have to make sure that there's appointments available.
Yeah.
You know, tax help is a big issue sometimes because we can't always slot everybody where the nutrition bus, so little
Yeah.
rides like that, you know, and, you know, it doesn't really like concern me a ton if I don't have a full bus all the time. Like, that doesn't really concern me. If I'm serving 5 or 2, you know, and we're expanding, that's not my biggest issue, but it might be the city's biggest
It
issue.
might be.
And that
They'll
came up,
look at the numbers of people in the bus and say, well, you're not utilizing this
Right.
bus to its fullest extent.
right, and I feel like we could be very successful fundraising for a lot of stuff, maybe the first or second year, but I gotta get some sustainable funding long-term, you know, that I gotta get that buy-in, but by that time, the proof might be in the pudding, you know, like, all right, good, we got full buses all the time.
That same argument that you just made about not utilizing the buses, Madison has been fighting that with the whole rapid transit system, and there might not be enough people for it. The speculation is and can I throw in something here too? It's not pros and cons, but if we're talking about buying a new bus, I would recommend that we investigate the EV electric bus,
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
because there's hardly any maintenance on fully electric, because you don't have any oil, you know, and that kind of stuff, and gas and that kind of stuff. And we've got the charging stations already here.
Yeah,
So you don't have to worry about that. And then making minor runs on electricity is
not as bad.
not as big of a problem.
I'll make a
You know,
note.
if you put 3
I don't know
people
if
on
you
a
could get those
bus
figures.
versus 20, well,
Yeah,
you're just on electric anyway,
Right.
so,
yeah.
It's just charged.
yeah.
Let's go,
So,
oh,
can I ask
go
a
ahead,
question?
yeah.
So, how far did you get in the past with this concept of getting your own bus? And what was
What about
the
this one?
obstacles? What were the obstacles, and why did we stop?
Because the employee left.
The employee left.
So this, it wasn't going, because at that point, Janice, we were looking at a bus, like a shuttle for the whole city. And so I was working with the city's transportation engineer, and the individual took another job. So it took a long time to hire another person, and when that other person came on board, this was no longer a priority. So then they got up to speed, and that's happened twice. I worked with 2 different transportation engineers, looking at, investigating, you know, other shuttles, bus ownership. I can show you the studies that we have. But again, this was a global, like a city type transportation, not just a senior center by a bus transportation. I haven't looked, in fact, I wasn't even the director when Sue Sheets looked at purchasing a bus when I started years and years ago. And again, then we decided not to. We did a lot of subcontracting for about 5 years. And then it just got to be a lot, writing grants every single year, reporting, ridership wasn't huge, you know, and that was 20 years ago. So then, you know, we took a couple years off, and
Fitchburg was small.
it was smaller back then. But I mean, it wasn't quite as densely populated, but it was the same issues of people can't get here for programs they want to, you know. So, you know, to me, if 2 people want to come and knit at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, I think that's nice. I think it would be great if we had a driver that could run out and pick them up, you know, and
Especially the electricity.
yeah,
Really so,
yeah, all of those
We're talking about
leaders
a
saying,
bus that's like the size of the transit system bus.
yeah, I would want a
20
it's 14 passenger.
You have to have a lift on it and
I want a
everything.
lift.
Yeah.
So then if yeah,
Little bus.
yeah,
Special
so,
bus.
Okay.
yeah, a little bit bigger than that. I don't think, I mean, I could get a van, there's wheelchair-lift vans, but I don't think, vans are hard for people to get in and out of. We've had vans come before, Transit Solutions can send a van once in a while, but they just limit.
Especially shopping.
Yeah.
So primarily it was because the employee left. I mean, that's where it kind of came to a stop.
Right, and because I needed the city's buy-in, because again, we were looking at a whole shuttle for the city, whether it was subcontracted or purchasing buses. And again, it's kind of like the city has been looking at this for years and years and years. What's the right answer? One size doesn't fit all. So I think if we narrow it back down to just the senior center, it does seem a lot simpler, but.
So then we really haven't investigated or invested a lot of time in a bus for the senior center. We haven't really done
Not for
that.
many years.
Okay, good,
Yes,
good.
yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I don't have like, I'll just open this folder because we were so close. Again, it was the city looking at it. And the city was not leaning, they kept leaning more towards subcontracting. They were not leaning towards purchasing a bus because of some of these cons. They have to pay a driver. We have to maintain it. Who's gonna be scheduling the rides? So again, it never got completely flushed out. But that's what we can do here. I think, again, we just, like I said, we're starting at ground zero again. What's the pros, what's the cons, And if it's something we want to move forward, how do we sell this the best way possible?
If that's really where we want to.
If that's where we want to go, and where can we get additional funding?
I'm,
Rents? Gail? But yeah.
personally, I've been on the commission a long time, and I'm like you, the frustrations with this whole issue with transportation. I'm ready to say, let's buy a bus. And I'm sitting here thinking, our current mayor and several of the council members are very concerned about transportation and would like to have something happen. When I talked to Julia, personally, before she ever came to the meeting here, she seemed to be very, very positive about supporting the senior center and the senior center's efforts for getting transportation. She said, just let me know anything I can do to help out.
Yeah.
And I think with leadership kind of in our favor, let's go for it. Because, she could be voted out, anybody can be voted out in the next election, and we might have some hard-nosed to pinch every penny and to forget about anybody that has any problems, just give me my money. There's that element in our
No, I agree. I've had conversations with her too, and you're absolutely right. She is very supportive of that, the transportation and concerns about the senior center. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, let's roll on it.
I think it's time to step off the curb
Yeah.
and try it.
Yeah.
You've been spinning your wheels on this for a long time.
Exactly.
Well, here's another thing.
Now-
Exactly.
Hold on. And now's the time to make your move. However, I will tell you, I think you're gonna find that you're gonna need to make a real good argument as to the exclusivity of using that bus for senior services only, because I still think lights are gonna go on. We have transportation, how else can we utilize this? And so I think that's gonna be critical.
But the grant tells you.
The grant tells you, but I understand that, but there's gonna be people in the city that have other ideas.
You're right, and this is not gonna be easy, not at all.
Your point is the city can look at how the senior center is using this grant money to get a bus. And then the city can apply for a bus to meet their needs. And we are the pilot that shows them how to do it.
And that's what we're.
Here's a thought.
All right,
And
Barb.
they can also inquire as to, whether, over 50, correct, or over 60 rather, any of these other uses that I would
Right.
bet that there are a lot of people that the city might want to use or to offer services through would also qualify for senior center services, in which case they can just refer them to you for whatever their needs are,
Right.
rather than trying to duplicate that through the city. I can't imagine, other than the library, anybody having a big need to bring people into the city, unless they wanted to have them come to a meeting or something, you know, a council meeting, or,
Right.
I mean, what other purpose would they have to come
Yeah, I don't know.
for the city?
Does it have to be a new bus?
I don't know. I think the grant.
I don't know.
I don't know, why would you wanna buy a used bus?
Yeah, I get why
I
you're
think,
not used.
I do agree with Jim, I think electric is probably a
I'll look
really
into that, Paul. It's
simple.
just
I mean, I don't know, I don't know a thing about these buses.
Well, what is the, is an electric vehicle less expensive than a gas powered?
I know, I don't.
It's
More.
more expensive,
It's more
but
expensive.
not as bad as it used to be. They're pretty
Right,
close now.
So,
with the
Oh,
technology.
yeah, so then, you know,
And
And the other thing too, you might be able to get
yeah, grant money.
EV grant money.
right, I was gonna say, there
Yeah.
might be some other grant money that you could get.
Yeah.
Well, I was the director of student services for a couple school districts, and part of my realm was special ed and transportation, which is, everybody hated. The thing that the thing we had more problems with, the buses were fine, it was the mechanism to lift and lower the wheelchairs.
Yeah.
That's where the problem comes. So even if we do get a used bus, I would say make sure we get a new mechanism for that, because that's, I mean,
That's what, if anything is gonna
that's the
fail, that's
constant
it,
problem,
yeah.
constant.
Especially in the snow.
Even with new buses, it was just constant issue, it just constant.
How about, would you be interested in me having Bob from Sun Prairie come and talk about owning the buses and going through the grant processes and?
Yeah.
I think that'd be.
Because he's
that'd be
one that's
learning.
been doing it for years and they've never went back, you know. I think it would help us as we kind of move forward.
Now, do they pay for FTEs to drive the bus, or, okay?
Yeah, I don't know if it's full-time, which would be, you know, so
That's why it'd be good to have them come.
that, yeah.
Yeah,
And
how
I
they
think that we,
schedule-
you know, we don't wanna, well, I wouldn't say, an FTE comes along with benefits, which is about a $50,000 additional
Yeah,
cost
that's
to
why I
the
was like, do
city.
you want to?
But we could do an LTE, you know, like our nutrition site assistant is an LTE. You know, I don't envision needing 40 hours at this point. I think that would be a big request to have a full-time, but if we had 30 or 25, you know, so on the downtimes, they're doing the schedule, they come in the morning. So I don't know, just thinking about that. Because I know what I'm up against selling a new position. I couldn't even get positions last year. The Friends are funding a position. So that's why this advocacy, it can't be just me anymore. And so if we're gonna
It's
head
not
down
gonna be
this
just
road,
you.
right, I need more.
We'll be there.
Yeah.
I will.
I think you'd have more stability in the job if it were an FTE with benefits.
For sure.
You're gonna
Oh, no
make
doubt.
sure You
Absolutely.
can offer
Yeah.
somebody
Absolutely.
stability.
But that makes it a little more, it makes, like she said, that's 50, on top of.
Well, it is, but I guess if we're gonna take a look at it, let's take a look.
Let's go, let's ask for the.
Yeah, let's not just pick little pieces here, let's take a look
Because
at the big
eventually you'll
picture.
have to go for that anyway.
Yeah.
Right, for
How
sure.
would you do coverage for when that driver goes on vacation?
Yeah, I don't know. That's,
That's something.
and that's something that
That's a
Bob
problem.
can talk about, you know, I think.
Yeah.
I know Jim he
You can do
hired
that.
2 drivers for. Yeah.
I think too, there's gotta be software out there for scheduling that.
Oh, there's tons.
Oh, I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
That is going to make
Versus
this
the-
so much, it's not the old paper and pencil,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
erase somebody.
Yeah, I mean, we do have the software,
So,
you know, but again, how nice it would be for the driver to just come in the morning, and, you know,
Well,
even if we're running our own shuttles, you know what I mean? We could say, all right, head down to Highline, Novation Commons, we have this schedule, people can get on and off, And then in between, it's this.
They also have a
red.
route scheduler.
You have a route schedule, and then you just pick up people in
Yep.
between. And then, on the days where we have really great programs and people wanna stay late, we could do whatever. But to just have that flexibility of, oh geez, drivers, somebody called in this morning, they wanna come too. All right, I'll go pick them up. You know what I mean? We don't have that. And in the population we work with, we need a lot of flexibility to make it successful, I didn't know if I was gonna feel good, so I didn't sign up, and I woke up today and I really wanna come now. Then we can do that, Or again, oh, my daughter dropped me off, oh, great, fine, we'll take you home.
We can get you back.
We can get you back.
So Jill, do you need a vote from us to proceed?
No,
Okay.
I think what I needed to hear is that what you guys wanna do?
Yeah.
I wanna talk about the pros and cons, I wanna then, cause we're starting at ground zero. Get Bob in, he can talk a little bit about,
Maybe that's the first step. Yeah, let's get him in
right,
And be mindful of the due date on the grant.
August.
I'm just saying, we
12th.
just need to make sure, what's this,
August
June?
And so
So
if
July.
this is really the case, then what I would do is I have to put the request through the city to apply for it. So
the request.
I have to get the approval to apply. I have to.
City of Fitchburg, right?
Correct. What's that?
To apply for the grant.
Correct. You can't apply for any grant, you have to go through the process of getting the approval of the mayor and the city administrator. So we kind of have our ducks in, we need to have a plan, This came about very suddenly, this grant application, because I haven't paid attention, because I wasn't thinking about this at this moment, about this grant. So this is a quick turnaround to apply for a grant,
That's what I was gonna say.
which means we have to have our ducks in a row,
Bring in Bob.
Yeah.
very quickly.
Yeah.
So,
And if needs
Maybe you
be,
need a
I was
special,
gonna say,
special
yeah.
meeting for that?
that's just what I was gonna
Yeah.
say.
so I
Maybe
think then, and maybe Ben can come and talk to us, about the grant. Here's what, but, sorry, I'm gonna back up. They had a training yesterday. I've gone to the trainings before about applying for these grants, but it's been a while. So Ben told me, and I couldn't go yesterday, there's an hour training about this grant that will be online next week. And so he's gonna send me the link, so we can all look at it.
Can you send it out to us?
Oh, yeah, I will send it out to you guys, and then maybe after that, we call a special meeting. Cause I need to look at the operating as well as the capital grant, both grants.
So in between now and next month,
Yes.
our next meeting, unless we do a special meeting after that, we're gonna hear from Ben, we'll hear from Sun Prairie. You're gonna get the video, the link for
yeah.
us so we can see it. Are we gonna try to end our meeting in July with a vote? I mean, how much time do you need? You've gotta talk to people too. How much time do you need to get this done and the grant written and in by August 12th? And I'm just saying, if, backing up, taking a timeline and going backwards.
Yeah.
Right,
What all do we need to get done in that time period?
all of that. I mean, I think for me, I need to download this grant and take a look at it again, and see if the transportation engineer had even started to apply last time, because maybe there's some documentation there we can use. But I think what we'll need to figure out more so is the operating, the 50%. Where are we gonna get the funding? You have to explain the matching funds.
Every year.
And so is that grants, is it other grants, is it the Friends, we also not only have to get the 20% for the capital expense, we have to get the 50% for the operating. So where am I gonna get that commitment to pay for that? So that, to me, I feel like the justification is kind of the easy part. We can find what we need to support our ask in terms of need, but it's the funding piece that's the question mark. And then the sustainability is always a question, which therein lies when you go back to the city to apply for a grant and get the approval to apply.
That's what
Those are all the
they
questions we're gonna have to answer.
That's
So-
they need to know. Before they'll even approve it, I would imagine.
Correct, we can approve this and you can apply.
But
Where are you
where's the
gonna-
rest of this money?
Where is it all
coming
gonna come from?
Yeah.
Where are you gonna get this money? So,
Well, first of all, you need an estimate of how much it is.
right, And I'm sure I can dig back in some of my records. I know what the bus cost, I have a sheet. The operating is the big thing. You know, what does it cost to operate it?
Does that include the individual driver?
His hours and hours.
So, for this group, I think we continue to just gather the information. I'll get the cost and talk to Bob, and maybe that special meeting with Bob comes pretty soon, because I think we can get a lot of information from him. What does it cost to operate your bus? You know, he's running two, he's done it forever. I think he's gonna know, what it takes, how many hours.
Bob is temporary.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Okay.
Bob, the director of the Colonial Club, yeah. I think he would be a good one.
Yeah.
I could bring Jim, you know, then after that, we could bring Jim Kruger in, because he just went through this process. Or I bring him in at the same time.
Bring me at the same time.
Because you see somebody long-term, and then you see
Well,
somebody
we
who
still
just
wanna
went
hear
through
from
it.
Ben, that may be a different meeting.
Yeah,
Hear
Ben
from
would be,
those
I would,
guys.
yeah, I say, Ben, is it worth your time to come and talk about this grant, or can we get what we need from that 1 hour link, you know? Again, it was years ago, but I remember the training was really interesting. So,
Well, whatever, if we do the special meeting, just allow enough time so we can really tackle this.
Yeah.
And not have to.
it's like,
Let's do another special meeting.
So, all right, so back to your question, I think we call a special meeting. Right now, we're still in the information gathering stage, because again, I have to have some solid information to take forward to apply for the grant, to apply through the city for the grant, to get the approval. You know, I can't just say, we'll figure it out. I don't think they'll buy that, even though I think we would figure it out. So, okay, all right, so I will call a meeting, I'll reach out to Bob and Jim, I'll send the link from Ben. I'll get the expenses, at least I can figure out the expense of a bus, because I can go on the DOT website and figure out that. How's that sound? All
And
good?
so when, I'm back to, are we, or should we be prepared to have the information we need to make a vote at next month's meeting? I don't think so, that's gonna be too short.
This is what, due August 12th, you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah, so we've got,
Yeah, I just wanna make sure we give her time to pull it all
well, I
together.
feel like we can, you know, we can do the formal make a motion, but we're still kind of moving in that direction. But if we want to
Okay.
make a formal motion in
Okay.
July, I
Yeah.
mean, we could make a formal motion today that says we as a Commission on Aging have directed Jill to pursue purchasing a bus, applying for a grant, or, you know, we could make that motion today. I don't, you know what I
I
mean?
think
That
that's what he
doesn't,
was asking.
yeah, that doesn't
I think
mean
we
we can't.
should, just so it's on record,
I think it would
but that's me.
mean more for the city if you had the, a
That's
formal
the advocacy,
You
resolution.
show
that's
it.
the advocacy, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what Paul was asking earlier.
Okay, I make a motion to everything she said.
I
Okay,
second.
motion's been made, it's
Oh
seconded.
goodness sakes, tell me what the wording is. Make a
You
motion.
said it!
So Commission on Aging will direct.
Direct Jill to
Efforts to secure transportation.
We wanna mention the
Ownership
53.
transportation.
To secure,
5310 funding?
to,
by-
okay,
Yeah,
to proceed in efforts to apply for,
grant.
that covers it.
funding for capital and operating expenses of a senior center bus.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, would you read the motion back to us before we vote?
Yeah, right.
Jill just put in her resignation.
No, not that.
I'm just teasing. Commission on Aging will direct Jill to proceed in efforts to secure, or to apply for funding for capital and operating expenses for a senior center bus.
And operating this, wait,
Operating for capital, which is the bus, and then
Okay.
operating.
expenses
That's,
for,
it's two
okay,
different grants,
gotcha.
so.
Would it be more official if instead of saying Jill, we say the
Director,
director?
yeah.
of the Fitchburg
Yeah.
City?
Yeah, yeah.
I like it.
we want to make it sound really.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you do submit that letter, somebody else has to do it.
Yeah.
Right, now it's official. Yeah, okay,
Okay,
okay, so, Bonds made the motion.
and it's
I'll
been seconded.
Who seconded?
I-
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I always forget to vote.
Okay. Motion is passed.
Good,
Okay.
now, we're moving.
We're off at ground zero, Jill.
Yes, indeed. Going for it.
Here we go. All right.
Anything else on that, or should we proceed on? with the-
Anything else you want to talk about, transportation? Okay, all right.
Okay, I'm next.
Yeah.
All right, well, first of all, as I said last time, Friday, August 16th is going to be the brat lunch, which is 11 to 1 p.m. There will be a drive-through and dine-in. Also, the patio will be available for people to gather and have their brat lunch. There are Spanish and English flyers going to be posted. And this is more of a friend raiser than it is a fundraiser. We have you get a brat, a cookie, chips and water for $5. So we're not making much money on this, but it's basically for, goodwill, getting people to know us type thing. So that will be August 16th. July 11th at 1 p.m. The travel committee is starting to have a relationship with a new travel company. We still have Mayflower, and they've been fabulous, and we've been doing that. But Colette Tours, which operates out of the Madison area, is wanting to start to do some travel groups here too. So we're gonna have the travel show with just them for the 2025 travel at 1 p.m. on July 11th.
Have you used Colette before?
No, we haven't.
Just a thought, Channel 15 uses Colette a lot for their station-sponsored tours.
I noticed that, yeah. Mhm.
That might be an opportunity for you to
Just check it.
get some feedback
Right.
on how they're to work with.
Yeah, there's one agent that we are working with. I can't recall her name right now, but
Okay.
but we have somebody that they're working
And
with.
at the other end of the spear, Colette does Evansville's senior trip. The kids go to Europe.
Oh, they're high school.
Yeah, they're high school. And then there's a couple Madison high schools that use Colette too.
Okay.
They've got a good record for
Mhm.
And that's very important because a lot of the money that you raise comes
Right.
from those trips.
The travel,
Which
I mean,
then
yeah.
funnels back to the senior
There has
center.
been a lot of travel going
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
And
very
we've been
nice.
making good funding getting good funding for those.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as payments go for this month, special needs had $513. There was a medical alert bracelet they're paid for with that, and there was $187 for move-out expenses for a client, $200 for an unpaid MG&E bill, $100 for a card for for a client that was put on a special diet, $10 for free meal tickets that are distributed by the social workers when they go to the different high rises. And then we gave Jill $226.66 for small gifts for the people that attended for the over 90 group that attended our luncheon. And let's see if there's anything else. Oh, we have a new member, Bruce Lundy. He was voted in, and he's in the men's group, I believe. Yeah, right. And he will be starting next month to replace one of the members that had resigned. So, and I think that's all. Thank you.
Could be a good asset.
That's nice.
Right.
The meal tickets, I was just gonna mention, we turned in 9 more, actually 9, 10, 11 maybe. I had 2 more yesterday, so those were, we created these tickets, fun little tickets, so as the social workers met people, any of us toured around, knew people, Janice gave a couple away, a good way to entice people to come for lunch. And then the Friends, which is wonderful, makes a donation to the meal program on behalf of that. So we're actually gonna make more tickets because they're starting to catch on finally, and so it's super nice. So thank you to the Friends. Like I said, those trips really help because they're very supportive.
Friends, do you post the banners in grocery stores too?
For the fundraisers?
Yeah.
Yes, we go around, some people, they will only let us, most of the time, they only let us put them like in the back by the bathrooms or something like that, you know? And for the pancake breakfast, we have a huge list with like, 100 different places, and we divide the list up. We go to them, and then we keep track of who said no.
Yeah.
And we take those off. And but for the brat lunch, we only have 200 brats. So we said when they're gone, they're gone.
Yeah, when they're gone, they're gone, yeah.
And so we're not gonna, we will have signs out the day before and the day of, right near the campus here. So, because we do get a lot of people from the city hall and the area around here that come, and the Agora businesses down there that come to the brat, come up and have.
And that's kind of what I was thinking, and I don't know the name of that mall, it may not have a name, that strip mall where Dairy Queen is.
Right.
Oh, there,
You see a lot of seniors, and especially Latino Hispanic seniors. They go in, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So if you can give them one of those or two of those businesses, that would
Sure.
probably be the Spanish ones, well, the English ones too.
Yeah.
That would be good outreach.
Is that an annual? you're
Yeah,
running?
we didn't do it last year because the patio was being torn up, and it would have been too
Oh, yeah, they were doing
inconvenient
all the
because there was all
construction.
kinds of construction, so people wouldn't be able to safely drive through or walk in. So we did not do it last year. The year before we did do it, that was our first year of doing it, so. Okay.
The other thing is, and this is kind of an aside, but it goes with what I was just saying about Latino Hispanic. There's a radio station in town.
Oh, yeah, Lama.
Yes, and they always do community announcements, and I don't know if we've ever sent things, I mean, it would have to be a big one, needless to say. Not the 200
Right.
brat, because I want my brat.
Right,
But
right. Yeah.
some of the other things, make sure we send them the announcement in Spanish, or maybe even go over and introduce ourselves and just say, we're trying to do more outreach. And that's another way that Fitchburg citizens who are older, but may primarily speak Spanish,
Yeah.
can get the information too.
Okay, I'll mention that to the marketing committee, because we're always looking for new ways.
I said this may not be the right place, but
That's good, we didn't realize that there was such a.
yeah, there's a radio station and a newspaper.
Okay.
And also your Latino Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, yeah, that's true, I'm sorry.
One of our members' husbands has been very helpful in interpreting and in helping us make the signage for the Hispanic community. So,
Yeah, Jesus is sitting on the multicultural committee too, to go through the inclusion toolkit. And yeah, he's been doing a lot of translation and
Sometimes radio stations like to do live remotes. You'll actually come to a place of business and be part of the show.
That would be cool.
Depending on what you've got going on at the senior center.
Oh, you call them. Listen to you.
Anyway, they may or they may not, but it's an opportunity for them to do community outreach and a good opportunity for you to expand, the services of the center to other cultures.
maybe you can do that with your, buy this bus.
Absolutely.
Bus
A
a month.
whole,
Bus-a-thon, yeah.
whole marketing campaign. We did make it on 27 News. I think some of you saw. Amy was on the news, which was kind of nice.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Just how do we support seniors in the extreme heat?
Yeah.
So they
Oh,
should-
yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, all right.
Okay. Anything else, Gail? Okay, thank you. Time for Jill's director's report.
All right, just quickly, thank you to Janice and Paul for the very popular Lunch and Learn last week with Craig Culver. Super fun, yeah, still people are commenting. That's another thing we're gonna do is try to get the bus to take people to Culver's and use their coupons.
To get the,
Yeah, to get their ice cream,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Mustard.
Custer, oh, sorry,
You're
custard.
right, it's not.
That's what Greg said.
How long have you been living here?
It's
Long time.
custard, yeah.
It's custard, sorry,
It is
yeah,
custard,
so,
yeah.
so that was super nice, and Janice continues to have an awesome lineup. If you wanna talk about what's coming.
Yeah, and end of June, we have advanced planning coming from UW. And then in July, we have a nutritionist coming, and they're actually going to do something fun with Nutrition Jeopardy with the group. And then in July, I also have FACTv coming, because a lot of people, want to know, what does that mean, how do we use it,
How do you
et
get
cetera.
on it?
Yeah.
Can't
There you
find
go,
it.
you
I
better
still
go
can't
there.
find it.
Yeah,
So that's July. And in August, I've got, come and meet your alderperson.
isn't that nice?
There's a lot of people that don't even understand, or know what district they're in, and certainly don't know their alderperson. So, 2 weeks, two sessions in August 7th and August 21st, there will be a representative from each district that's coming. So that's August. Let's see, September, we have Anissa's therapy coming to talk about mental health and the aspects of mental health. This October, we have the division chief for fire prevention from Fitchburg coming.
Yeah.
And then that's October, what's the other October? Oh, MG&E, to come and talk to the older adults about the energy assistance program and help them through that process if necessary. And in November, we have our pharmacists come back. We had 2 pharmacists last year, which was
they were so
really-
good.
It was great. And they're coming back. They're from St. Vincent de Paul Charitable
yeah.
Pharmacists.
Yeah.
And so they'll be back. So that's
Yeah.
the lineup through November.
What about 2025? Anything there?
Right?
I requested Mr.
I'm
Woodman.
working on that, Parker.
I told her I want to meet Mr. Woodman.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Mr. Woodman?
Yeah,
All right.
so that's the lineup, and so, again, hope that you all can come, friends, please, you come and support those groups. I think it's fun. I think the older people, I think it'll be great to have everybody come. As you know, we had come and meet the mayor when she first, and that's real good. So that's the lineup. And
People seem to enjoy it.
Oh, yeah.
We have a good
it's
turnout on
definitely-
those lunch days.
Definitely growing, and when I talk about the budget, I'll talk about how I'm putting in a position for Janice, a paid position. I love it, I love
Well,
it.
she called, we talked yesterday.
She has to drive a bus every week.
Yeah, right, just a side
You
note.
may not want to ride that bus.
You're right now. So she says to me, someone was over here asking for you, and I said to her, she goes, one of your clients, someone of your clients.
Janice has got it going on down there, I love it.
She's reeling them in.
She is,
She
it's,
found my phone number. I have not stopped
Fantastic.
hearing from her.
yeah, so, thank you for that. It kind of leads like, Janice, I'm grateful for Janice because she's come with a whole different view she's bringing up a lot of stuff after 30 years. I'm like, I'm so like burned out on some things, and she's kind of just bringing them back to the forefront and just poking me like a bear. I'm like, all right. So, I do really appreciate, just a fresh set of eyes and just somebody that's pushing me. So it's good, right? We laugh a lot. We do. So, kind of speaking along those lines, there's some outreach events coming up. Tonight I'm going to the River Pantry Resource Fair at Southdale. And so Hilario from Newbridge is going to be there for Spanish-speaking folks too, but we'll have the literature in Spanish, as Gail mentioned. Jesus is doing translation, and I also have another gentleman who is also happy to translate our whole newsletter. And so I'm starting to work with him. His job was, he was a translator for, I think, St. Mary's or UW, so he was in the room translating, and so he knows Spanish written and verbal really well. So I'm working with him to, at this point, translate our services, because, we do have language lines, so if people call in and need help. We do have access to Spanish-speaking case managers. People can come in for blood pressure, you can come in for foot care and not really need to speak English, so some of those things. And then Sylvia and Alberto continue to host the Spanish social group, and she calls people a lot, she's spreading the word. Now we have more literature in Spanish. And then we got a call from hospice last week, and they said they have a Spanish-speaking presentation. And so they're gonna come in and talk to the group.
Oh, that's good.
Isn't that nice?
That
Yeah,
is.
yeah, so anyway, that one's kind of just doing really well too. But these outreach events, there's Community Night Out, which is with the police, and it's down at McKee Farms Park, huge event, and we'll be down there in October. Jesus is actually gonna go to the fire station car seat clinic in July. It's really geared towards families and safety of putting your car seats in your car safely. But because there's a lot of multi-generations in one family, the police asked if we had somebody that spoke Spanish that would come and do outreach there. So we're gonna go there, and then probably the Luna Fest. But I'm moving towards wanting to engage commission members more, friends. I often, lean on the friends for a lot of activities, but you're gonna see a lot more requests from me to see if you guys wanna be present at some of these events, because I think, and again, this is something Janice pointed out, like people don't know who the commission is. They do know the friends more, because you guys are there doing all the fundraisers, but looking at getting you shirts. So some of these outreach events, you're not just looking at a staff person, you're looking at somebody who is on the commission, who may be an older adult, maybe a person of color, that it's not just my staff trying to recruit, but it's more
gotta be both.
engaging. Yes, you're an older adult in black, so. But anyway, so moving towards more engagement for commission members and maybe for council too. Jim Wheeler had stopped down, Alderman Wheeler, the other day, and he was talking about the cardio drumming class that he saw going on. And I said, boy, you could be a guest drummer. I think people would really like to see
Oh, that would
a
be
council
cool.
person. So he agreed to be a guest drummer in July and go in the class and learn how to cardio drum. But just to lend more exposure to, the people that are leading the commission, that are leading the city. So you'll see more about that. We've talked about holding the Commission on Aging meeting down at the senior center in the next couple months maybe, so folks can see you. If we did that though, we would probably change the time, so it's closer to the lunch hour, because 8:30, only a few people that are having coffee.
That's fine.
So
Don't need
yeah,
that
you'd
many.
like that, yeah. So anyway, just regular stuff going on in the newsletter, as I mentioned, hoping to start transportation to the farmers market next month with Transit Solutions. And then I just want to talk a little bit about the budget, because the budget's due, the papers came out last week. The budget will be due, personnel request July 16th, and then the entire budget is due July 26th. You can put in what you want. It's gonna be two budgets. It's gonna be your first budget, and then if the referendum passes, it'll be a different budget. They'll be able to fund more. So last year, what I put in for personnel was a bilingual activity assistant to help us do more programming all around, but that they speak Spanish too, which would be great. I put in a full-time position, but I had it starting in January of that year, but it didn't get in there. I put in a nutrition site assistant part-time, 25 hours a week, which didn't get in, and the friends picked up.
So is that gonna be put in for next year too?
Yeah, I'll put that in again next year. I'll put the
Because,
activity assistant.
technically we only,
Yeah, right, you
that for
committed
1 year,
to, right, and a bus driver. So looking forward, that's what we'll put in. I can tell you that when we had to give our 5-year lookout, we also added in 2025, an additional bilingual case manager part-time. So I didn't put that in for 2024, but it was scheduled for 2025. And then, that's what it was, a part-time bilingual activity assistant in 2024, increasing it to full-time in 2026. So anyway, I'll probably put all this in there again, but right now we're just focusing on 2025. So it'd be bilingual activities, and then they have you prioritize. So maybe the bus driver gets popped up, the nutrition site manager maybe second, and the activity assistant. I don't know, I just gotta do some number crunching and see, but those are the personnel that I'm looking at next year and into the future. But a lot will be dependent on that referendum, so we'll see.
Okay. A question,
Yeah.
with the nutrition assistant that we have now, and part of the reason that we did it was to give Mandy some more,
Right.
time and that.
Yep.
How is that
So
going
we
in terms of her being, and Chris is great, yeah, you know,
Yeah, no, right.
but in terms of Mandy being able to accomplish some of those
Right.
tasks
Yeah.
that she was saying she would never be able to get to,
Yeah.
and can
So-
you speak to that?
Yep, because we met this week actually about that. You know, I was gonna give a grace period. Chris started in March. You know, she didn't start in January. So March was sort of a training sort of month, and then we had a lot of situations with the SAMS database and re-entering everybody, so that took a chunk of time. So we sat down yesterday with those goals of, you know, increasing the diversity of our volunteer pool. We need more volunteers just in general, attending a training about recruitment, because the volunteers that we had 20, 15, 10 years ago, it's different, you know,
Very different.
everything changes. And we need some different avenues. You know, Facebook is good, you know, it's our newsletter, FACTv, but we don't really have a newspaper here but once a month. And so we've got to figure out some better ways to recruit and a diverse population of volunteers too. So not a lot of progress yet, but certainly a meeting yesterday to lay out a plan. So yeah, because right, and that's what we talked about. It's hard to justify if we're not able to prove, you know, what hours are being utilized to hopefully, you know, do that. But saying that too, being in the kitchen and managing all that, Mandy's still like doing the scheduling. She has to still do all the nutrition reports. She still has to manage SAMs. So it's allowed her to catch up on some of that. So, but anyway, so we've got some work to do to, you know, try to just use those excess, that little bit of time to focus more on the volunteer portion of our job, so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then overall, in a CIP, just because you're gonna, so that gets a final approval around the budget too. So what's that? Oh, I'm sorry, the capital improvement plan. It has to be, yes, $10,000 or more for a project or for a piece of equipment. And so this year we were awarded money, it's not just money for me, but the community center, the upper level, to replace tables and chairs, because it's been about 20 years. Next year, I'm putting in for money for the lower level to replace those dining room tables with square tables like we talked about, so we can do more programming in there and have more room. And then the transit shuttle, as I talked about, was $80,000, but it got bumped to 2026. We have requested money for a kitchen remodel, and they put it in 2028 at $500,000. Now that's kind of a pie in the sky, but if our meal program continues to grow like it does, we need more space. We just had to get a new sealer that we have to slide into a very precarious corner. Right, we can't, and it's the only, isn't that design about the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen?
Yeah.
And so it's this big thing that you have to pull down and seal the meals, you know, so the plastic seals to the, but it's like this big, hot.
It's about that.
Yeah. And if the plastic gets stuck, 2 people got burned yesterday, because there's a learning curve, but it's so unfriendly to you, I think. The design is kooky, but that's the only sealer out there, and there's no room.
I'm surprised that OSHA allowed
Right.
that design.
It's a
because
crazy, silly design.
You stick your hand in underneath the
This big, hot, square thing,
thing to get the film
Yes.
to pull it in.
the film.
So it doesn't take much to burn you.
Just lift your hand a little bit, the back of your hand.
Chris got burned and a volunteer got burned yesterday, because we just started using it because our other one's broke. And we really need 2, but we can't even have
There's
2.
nowhere to
There's
put a
nowhere to
second
put another one, because it goes so high, it hits the counter, the cupboards. So we'd have to remove the cupboards. But anyway, the kitchen remodel is more than just that. And so
That's a safety issue.
that's a safety issue, but we need a commercial dish refrigerator. So anyway, but that's in 2028, so just to give you a heads up.
2028.
That got pushed to 2028.
So let me ask a question, and I know we're a city organization, we're not a nonprofit. and I'm used to dealing with public agencies, so I may be way off the ball. Can someone donate a kitchen to us? I mean, not a kitchen, but the money so we can do the
Yeah.
upgrades or
We
whatever.
had two,
Didn't Sub-Zero at one time do that?
Sub-Zero
Yeah.
donated that one a long time ago that we moved downstairs.
Okay.
And then the two white ones we have were donated from Home Depot last year.
Mhm.
The county does have some money, so absolutely, we can get things donated, yes. And we have.
And
the
do we
Friends
do
have-
any, and I guess this may be the Friends, I don't know, again, so forgive me if I'm thinking outside the box too much. Do we do any wooing of people, or?
Would you say wooing?
One, yeah.
I don't know another way to
You know
say
me
it.
just asking that
Schmoozing?
question, yeah.
It's
I'm-
schmoozing, it's
No, I'm not a big
schmoozing, yeah,
schmoozer. No, I'm not a big schmoozer, although I did raise, $70,000 for the patio
Yeah.
by myself, pretty much, so, and we
I
did
raised
some
$1 million
businesses.
for the museum.
Then there's my smoozer right there.
Well, and that's what I'm
Yeah, we
asking,
can
you
schmooze.
gotta have a reason, and you gotta have something where people are around to do the schmoozing, but,
Right, yeah, Yeah.
like last night, we had the open house at my building, Irish Fields, and the Fahey's were there,
oh, sure.
the street Fahey, the farm thing. And she's
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, you should come over to the farm, Vance, and I'm like, man, this could be a schmoozing opportunity, but I don't even know what I'd schmooze for.
Well, he actually has donated several times and donated to the
Yeah,
patio.
he's a big philanthropist,
Yeah.
big philanthropist.
But, I mean, so that's the one I ran across,
Yeah,
it came
yeah,
in
so
my mind.
yes, very
But I'm just
easily-
thinking, some of these things are like a one-time, as opposed to paying over every year the bus driver, that having the kitchen redone is a one-time project. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
There's things that are one-time that maybe we can look into, and I don't know what that means for a city,
No, it's
thing.
fine, you can accept donations and grants, yeah.
but, I mean, and I know the city's the one with its financial stuff too, so
Right.
that doesn't help.
No, the city's
But it just
happy.
seems like we should be able to do something in that,
Yeah.
along those
Maybe you
lines.
could go and schmooze Kaiser for a new bus.
But I was gonna say, Zimbrick, yeah, most definitely, we talked about that,
And
so-
again, I've always said,
There's
the
all
bus,
kind-
the
yes.
bus is not the big question.
Yeah.
It's the sustainability of maintaining it and getting the city to put it in.
But-
Yeah, it's not, however, that's
Yeah,
still.
but it
in
shows-
the
it shows-
conversation that we're having now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know we got other stuff to talk about. I don't want that to get lost,
No.
but can we keep talking about that? I really think we should do something, and I happened to be at a wedding reception and mentioned the project, and she's like, oh, I'll give you $1 million. Okay.
There we go.
So,
All right.
you never know whose paths you
Well, I
cross.
think when we got these big projects like that, we've got it.
Well, especially,
that are
yeah, the kitchen would be a big project. I think.
Absolutely.
And it's a one-time thing, even if Sub-Zero donates another refrigerator, we still got, all the other stuff, not to mention bumping it out or whatever.
So, but can I just ask this, as we're talking about the safety issue with the sealer for your meals, is there a way of getting that donated, instead of people getting burned or hurt?
That's the only sealer we have. That's the one the county
Yeah,
says that's
the
all that's
county-
out there right
The
now.
county makes that decision on what
Oh, the
sealer,
county makes
the other
that.
sealers we have to get rid of,
Yeah.
the ones that we're.
Yeah, it's,
Wow.
now we have gloves, Mandy's got some gloves down there, so we'll see how it goes today. I mean, the other sites use them, you know what I mean?
But they have more space, so it's not as,
Well, it's not, they have more space so they can put them on the
No, the
counters, but
design
the
is such.
design is the design. You gotta put your hands in this little.
oh, even on the counter, you still,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't open up any further?
No,
It's a locked position, you put it up at a certain height and
Yeah.
that's it.
And that's it.
The whole only part.
Yeah.
So you still gotta stick your hands in there,
Yeah,
it doesn't
yes.
matter where it is.
so it just might be a couple burns and then you won't do it again.
Yeah, that's a old.
But we gotta put a sign up there, cause it's a little dangerous. Anyway. Okay, so that was
Can we make a
that
note
was the
about,
budget.
about the schmoozing thing though, please?
Yeah. That'll come up, easy. Once we get this bus project going, Smoozin is all about it. So I will go schmooze. Schmooze.
The schmooze.
Okay. All right, that's all I got. Unless you guys got questions.
Other announcements? Anybody have any other announcements? If not, our next scheduled meeting will be July 11th, but we do have some potential special meetings coming up.
Yeah.
I do have a
Which
comment.
you'll let us know about.
Jim, I
Yeah, I hear a
have
motion
one
for
quick
adjournment.
comment.
Vance has a comment.
Oh, comment.
He's like, no, you can't talk anymore. I understand that. I've been told that before. So Janice and I were at the,
Council meeting.
council meeting.
Oh,
on
yeah,
Tuesday.
thank you for going.
And Janice was kind enough to remind me, because I plan on trying to attend more of those. But I was a little disheartened, and I know things come up. Our Alderman representative couldn't be there, totally understandable. So I guess if your Alderperson isn't there, you don't get they don't get a report on what we're doing?
No.
No, he gets a report.
Okay.
I mean, he gets the minutes too, and I talked to him.
Well, no, I believe that,
Oh,
but
yeah.
the public itself, so if somebody's sitting there watching
Saying
a
two
council
different
meeting.
things.
Yeah, okay, because he reports on us.
Yeah, no, but she said because he wasn't there.
Oh.
That's what she said.
There-
I'm saying,
there was
saying
no
two
I
different
see.
things.
read.
Probably,
Yeah.
you know, and I didn't know he wasn't there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if he
Yeah.
tells the mayor and, you know.
I mean, it would be
Yeah,
good
but-
if he knew, then I could say to the administrator, can you share our report?
Yeah.
If I
There
knew.
were,
that's-
there were a couple that weren't there, and so they just moved on to the next person. Yeah.
Okay.
But I am concerned, especially we're talking about this bus issue, we're talking about outreach to groups that we haven't been doing as much outreach to, we're talking about, you know, Spanish, Latino. There's just a lot of things we're trying to get out there, our little committee is trying to get out there. And I think also reading a report saying what we're doing at the
Or the council meeting.
council meeting would be helpful. I know people have things to do, they can't always be there, but it would be nice if we at least had a written report to read when someone couldn't be there. And I don't know if he needs to weigh in on that, but I'd like us to
I'll
discuss that a
talk to
little
him
bit.
about that, and he can let
Well, what
me
do
know.
people think? Am I out of the
Well,
box?
I've got a question. What's the process? I mean,
Right, I
do
mean,
you provide your,
generally, they're here, and then I provide the write-up in the minutes, and then they report on the minutes. I can write a separate, and I talked to Donald, I said, I can send you a separate report, so I make sure that he reports what I want him to report. Sometimes, you know, it might not sound as important to him, but it's more important to me, so I
Right.
talked to him about that. But it's always been that either the council is here and they report, our liaison is here and they report at council. If they're not here, they take the minutes and report off the minutes. But I don't know unless they tell me that they're not gonna be at council meetings. So I don't know the protocol, but I can talk to the administrator and say, here's a report, this is important for you to push out if Donald's not able to be there.
Wouldn't that be
Does that make
true for
sense?
every committee and not
Yes,
just
yeah,
this
I gotta
council, I
again.
mean, every council? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I would think the city would wanna hear
Yeah.
all this.
That's what I was thinking when
they all
they
went
went to
down
a
and
couple
gave
people.
reports.
Yeah,
Right.
not just
And
ours.
I think there were
but
3 that weren't.
No,
Right.
every liaison has a report of
Yeah.
every single committee.
And maybe they had it in front of them, but nothing was said.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, because Donald's our liaison.
Right.
So if Donald's not gonna be there, I'll talk to him and say, let me know you're not gonna be there, and I'll send the report to the administrator. And then
Okay.
he'll report out.
I mean, because it was very clear, the council people that weren't there, they went to the next person. There was no report on that
Right.
particular area.
That's usually the protocol.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way it went.
But if we want to report out when he's not there, I'll talk to the
Well, it's
administrator.
another way of letting people know what we do, who we
Yeah.
are and what we do, I think.
Yeah.
I was just kind of surprised that just, if you're not there, nothing's said.
Yeah, that's the normal protocol.
How many committees are there, guys? Come on.
All right,
Maybe that's me.
different set of eyes.
Different expectations, yeah.
That's all right.
Any other comments?
I'm sorry. I'm done for today.
Hurry up.
Adjourn.
Do I hear a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion.
Janice, all right.
I so move.
Oh, I thought Janice.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?